Greetings and welcome to the Sunday service for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola. I'm Reverend Alice Syltie, and it's my pleasure and honor to serve this congregation as minister, a congregation whose mission is to celebrate diversity, strive for justice, and inspire love. As a gathered congregation, we have reflected an area along the Florida Panhandle and the Alabama Gulf Coast. However, in today's world, we are so delighted to be able to welcome you from wherever you are. If you would like to learn more about us, please reach out and be in touch with me. I would love to talk with you. We begin our service with the lighting of the chalice with words from Ben's soul. This light we now kindle here will become a light for each of us to carry forth as we find our way through the shadows on our path. Let us be grateful for the light in our lives, even as we honor the dark from which the light came. And now we have music for centering from Denise D'Angelo. Our opening words are from the Reverend Maureen Killoran. Holy are the places of memory, the places which have formed us, where we gather threads and pieces of what we would become. Holy are the places of change and pain, where the rivers of our lives run white and fast, and we hold on, and grow. Please join me in the words to our church covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We have words today from Dolly Berthelot.
I wrote this poem shortly before Easter of 2019. It is called Pink Moon Rises by Dolly Berthelot. On this Easter Eve that many call Good Friday, pink moon rises over Pensacola Bay and pours molten silver straight toward me. On the moon's full shining face, I swear I see a bunny rabbit, clear as day. I try to grab this gift on my iPhone to share and to save forever. No, I just can't capture it. Not even close. But I can love it now. Love it now with gratitude, and remind myself always to look, always look.
As we consider the many joys and sorrows among us today, I share these words in the silence from the Reverend Sarah Eileen Lawal. Spirit of life and love, in the silence, in the stillness, we hear the call of our own heart, its tender dreams, its sorrows, and its triumphs. In the silence, in the stillness, we hear whispers of days gone by, of dreams still becoming, the promise of the future we celebrate together, our individual journeys and dreams, and our collective ones, knowing the journey is so much richer with others to share in it. In the name of all that we value and that is holy, we pray. Amen. Join in when you're ready.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
Thank you. During religious education, the teacher asked the class if anyone could tell her what happened on Easter Sunday. A little girl's hand went up, and the teacher called on her, and she answered, Jesus rolled back the stone, walked outside and saw his shadow, and we have 6 more weeks of winter. Now, here's how the story is told in our hymnal. It's reading number 623. On the first day of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb, saying, Who will roll away the stone from the entrance to the tomb? They looked up and saw that the stone had already been rolled back, and on the right they saw a young man. They were alarmed, but the man said to them, Why do you seek the living among the dead? So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them, and they said nothing, for they were afraid. In reading 628 in our hymnal, Rolling Away the Stone, Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Sarah Morris Campbell writes, In the tomb of the soul, we carry secret yearnings, pains, frustrations, loneliness, fears, regrets, worries. In the tomb of the soul, we take refuge from the world and its heaviness. She goes on to say, in this tomb of the soul, we wrap ourselves in the security of darkness, which can be a comfort and an escape, sometimes preparing us for experience, or insulating us from life. She concludes with, "In this season where light and dark balance the day, we seek balance for ourselves. Grateful for the darkness that has nourished us, we push away the stone and invite the light to awaken us to the possibilities within us and among us. Possibilities for new life in ourselves and in our world." Our title for today's message is Dare to Dance Again, and it was inspired by thoughts and conversation with Marcia McPhee and the people at the Worship Design Studio. Marcia's first career was in professional dance, but she reminds us you don't have to be a professional dancer to know the freedom of dancing. Well, at least the freedom of dancing when no one is watching. And each of us has our own preferred style. The Easter season is a time of coming out of the tombs. In a year like we've had, 2020 to 2021, the tombs of death, economic loss, grief, and unrest are obvious. Yet some tombs we need to emerge from are of our own making, and we ask ourselves, what holds us back from claiming our freedom to really live and to dance our dances fully? No matter what confines us, the Easter message is one that offers the courage for new starts. I immediately connected with the imagery of dance because two formational events relating to dance came to me from church. One was the time Rick Maston appeared in a church service when I was a teenager, guitar in hand, and sang his new song at that time, "Let It Be a Dance." It's a much different song the way it is in our hymnal. I love them both. They are just both very different. The other is a story about a woman from that same church who has been an inspiration to me throughout much of my life. When I was 16, I moved to Bessemer, Alabama, where my dad had taken a job teaching in an all-black high school. He never said this, but I figured out later that instead of returning to our home in San Diego, California, as was the plan after living for a time in Colombia, South America, we moved to Alabama so that my dad could be part of integrating schools in Alabama. The school in Colombia was connected to Alabama through its director and its accreditation. We also had an exchange program with Huntsville City Schools, and my dad met teachers from Alabama. Who he was unfolded for me after his death, because rather than talk about what he was doing, he was just living his life. It was after he died, and when it was too late for me to ask questions or have conversations about this with him, that I started to see by what he read, by the music he listened to, the friends he had, the places we lived, and the work he took on, what his life was about. I took for granted that all the things happened without much reason to them, until later when I thought about why. Once back in the States, we picked back up with Unitarian Universalism, attending the Unitarian Universalist Church of Birmingham. Like in most of our UU congregations, religious education was at the same time as the worship service, so I was not in the church service very often. I think now that's kind of a shame, because some pretty amazing things happened while I was in church that have had a powerful impact on me. One of those was the first time that I watched Laura Knox dance. I think back in the 60s and 70s, improvisational dance and UU worship were synonymous. Laura was classically trained for ballet, yet explored all kinds of dance. In her later years, she studied Spanish dance and flamenco, and even brought Jose Greco to Birmingham to teach and perform. For those who attended Syltie, maybe during those years, Syltie is our Southern UU Summer Institute. You may have seen Laura dance or perform for shows or for worship. She also taught Tai Chi. And you might find her in Avondale Park in Birmingham on a Saturday afternoon with a large circle of people around her as she led Tai Chi under a big tree on a grassy lawn. Watching Laura was how I learned you could tell a story without words. You could convey a powerful message with movement and music. Laura's life was an example of using dance for justice. Laura held integrated dance programs at the Birmingham church when it was illegal for Black and white people to sit together in public. She started the Birmingham Creative Dance Group, where, as was written in the church newsletter, dance classes for children were integrated and interracial performances by the dancers were held at the church when no public auditorium would allow them to perform. Laura danced for my ordination at the Birmingham church, and had she not become ill, she would have followed through with the plan to dance with her also extremely gifted and talented daughter, Sylvia Tafel, at my installation service. That took place in Huntsville. At the end of her life in 2011, circumstances arose that allowed me the honor of officiating at her memorial service, a wish she had once expressed to me early in my ministry. I did not know if Laura's dancing touched others the way it touched me until one Easter, about 15 years after that first time I saw her dance. I was sitting with my family, my husband and my children, in church for our flower communion. The flowers had been collected and placed in baskets on tables in front of the sanctuary. That year we went forward, picked up a flower, and took it to someone else seated in the congregation. When my daughter Janet, a reserved and quiet 5 or 6-year-old at that time, selected her flower, carefully selected her flower, she walked clear across the congregation and handed it to Laura. She didn't even know Laura, but she had seen her dance in church a week or two before. I knew then that my daughter had been touched by Laura's movement, as had I. Right now, some of our leaders are discussing an article about the decline of membership in mainline congregations, and I think it's a sad trend. Things can happen in the context of a church that just don't happen anywhere else. Mainline denominations have been declining for years. At one time, even though that was happening, Unitarian Universalist congregations were growing. I hope that's still the case, although I don't have any statistics on that right now. I do know that mainline denominations and individuals dissatisfied with the churches they grew up in have been experimenting with different ways to do church for a number of years. When I was part of that interfaith clergy study group, we looked into a number of congregations, churches and synagogues, and how they were doing things differently at that time. They were reimagining how a faith community could be. One of those movements was the emergent church movement. In some cities, we met with leaders and attended services in congregations that were gathering around art projects and justice in their community. Art as social justice. These congregations also paid close attention to fellowship and building multi-generational community. In the context of Christianity, I spoke with young people who expressed their desire to live by the example and teachings of Jesus, not the religion that had grown up around him and distorted his simple message to love one another. I know the rhetoric of many evangelical churches is often the antithesis of what Unitarian Universalists believe or profess, but it is also the opposite of what a lot of mainline Christian ministers and churches believe. Right now, the Methodist Church is dividing over the stance taken on LGBTQ rights. The Southern Baptist Convention has kicked congregations out for their liberal views on those same issues. And on Maundy Thursday, Bishop Thomas Bickerton, a United Methodist clergy person who is white, gave a stirring message calling his listeners to rise up and demonstrate to a broken world that we will break the deafening silence on racial hatred and violence. We will no longer be complicit in not dealing with systemic racism and white privilege, that we will work tirelessly, and even though we are still confined by the COVID-19 pandemic, we will not use that as an excuse to turn a blind eye to things like gun violence, sexism, racism, homophobia, and any number of other gross injustices that threaten to define who we are and tempt us to be included in the long list of generations that did not say enough is enough. Strong words from a Methodist bishop. And then he asked, but how do we do it? How do we rise up in the midst of fatigue and frustration and answer the call to face the hard realities associated with transformation, to rise above our circumstances and do the best of things in the worst of times? It sounds like what we've been asking ourselves over these last few weeks and months. In a few minutes, I will be naming those among us who have stepped up as leaders in work with our Just Pensacola group. It is a cooperative, I'd call it, of interfaith clergy and congregations invested in justice work in Pensacola. Perhaps they have asked themselves those very same questions. Easter time is a time to search our hearts for the will to live according to the example of those who show love for all people and live according to their highest values. It's a time to celebrate the dreamers and to dance with them. As the earth awakens and beauty becomes the landscape that surrounds us, I encourage us, as Dolly reminded us, to remember to look, look, look. What inspires you to overcome the fatigue and frustration of all that we have been through and have yet to contend with? What lifts your spirit and re-energizes you for the work ahead? Where do you see the beauty of love and justice happening around you? Where can you add your gifts to perpetuate love, not hate and fear? With whom can you move, walk, or dance to awaken the spirit of love, compassion, and justice in your world and ours? How will this Easter season feed your spirit and engage you more fully in the life of love and commitment that leads us to become our very best selves, even in the worst of times? Do we dare to dance, dare to dream, dare to come alive with all the best of who we are and who we can be? May it be so. This is the Easter season. Easter is not just one day for claiming that life and love are more powerful than death or hatred. A whole week of weeks, it is called. 7 more weeks of daring to dance our dances with hope and passion. So let us continue with praise.
Dare to dance with dreamers, sing their song. Dare to dance their stories, sing out strong. Dare to dance with freedom your whole life long. Dare to dance again.
Dancing requires that we pay attention to our dance partners. It requires finding a rhythm together. The joy of dancing comes from a connection that allows for moving together in unity. Stories for Easter point to the power of being together, of finding fellowship in the presence of what we hold dear and of the community. What does it take to dance together?
Dare to dance with dreamers, sing their song. Dare to dance their stories, sing out strong. Dare to dance with freedom your whole life long. Dare to dance again.
This is the call. Shake off the dust that has been gathering underfoot. We lift up our heads to meet the day. Raise your hands in grateful praise. We fortify our hearts with compassion and action. If rain still lingers, open the umbrellas of determination and set out anyway, for we are called to dance again. Easter time in Christian churches is often a time of commissioning people to new ministry. Through Just Pensacola, we are working with an interfaith group of clergy and congregations across Pensacola to do justice work in our community. Over the next few weeks, clergy will be commissioning members of their congregations to step up and lead in the work we are doing together. Today, we have the honor of recognizing and commissioning members of our congregation who have accepted responsibility for our work in justice, united, seeking transformation in Pensacola. Here you see us on a recent Zoom call planning for the May 3rd Jeremiah action. Today I call the names of those among us who have accepted this responsibility and commission as we covenant to support their work and respond to the best of our ability to their invitation and encouragement to join with them. Lauren Ansaldo, Penny Featherstone, Paula Montgomery, Marcy Moreland, Scott Satterwhite, Nancy Hagman, Audrey Preston, Patty Underwood, Eleanor Cutts, Lori Winterberg, Bob Williams, Charlotte Crane, Charlie Steed, Aaron Renfro, Mary Lee Donnelly, Jean Siebenaller, Arnie Ondis. When these people contact you, I hope you will say yes. I commission you in the name of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola to go forth and seek justice among us and for us and with us. We have come to the time in our service to listen to some music from Denise and to share with you the information for how you can donate to the church through text to give or writing a check. As always, I hope that you are inspired to support this congregation and all the wonderful work it is doing within its walls and outside in the community. Thank you for all the ways you help. I close with these words from our hymnal by John Bannister Tabb. Life again. Out of the dusk, a shadow, then a spark. Out of the cloud, a silence, then a lark. Out of the heart, a rapture, then a pain. Out of the dead, cold ashes, life again. Go in peace.